everyone, Chris kind of hails from the same type of soldier stock that I do. And that means if you're an engineer in the U.S. Army, you can generally be one of two kinds. A core construction, Corps of Engineers type of engineer. That would be the bad kind from my perspective. Or you can be a combat engineer who goes out with the infantry and the armor guys and support our maneuvers. As the slideshow clearly demonstrated, Chris is the good kind of combat engineer. He has spent his time supporting maneuver forces. He has been in the mud with us, in the desert, in the cold with us. And that tends to have an impact on how you deal with things further on down the road, and perhaps somewhat shaped how he handled things here in this assignment. So he be one good engineer, number one. A side note, I was not aware that combat engineers apparently have a full-time photographer that follows them throughout their career. So very nice, clearly well beyond the PE capabilities of NATO, however. Just a few observations. Number one, in the time that I've known Chris and in the time that we've worked together, I have never once had to question his judgment or provide him any guidance for him to do his job. I think if I could say that about everybody, I would have a much easier life than I do. But Lieutenant Colonel Papaioannou knew what his areas of responsibility were, knew how to get the most out of his people, knew how to establish an appropriate atmosphere and work environment, and I think we all benefited from that. That's the first observation. The second observation, there is probably but one job that comes close, possibly exceeds my job for the potential to never satisfy anyone. And although there clearly have been some people distraught that the chateau we provided didn't have enough, rooms or a large enough bathtub or something, when you consider the size of the population that he and the housing office have supported over these years, and you compare that to the number of substantive complaints, those that would rise to my level, and then you remove all those that really are without base, you'll find out that you can't get any closer to perfection than what you and the rest of the housing office did. So that's pretty quite phenomenal. There were cases where we argued, not together, but not against each other, but together to other individuals on the side of families, and we lost some of those arguments. But that does not mean that we were wrong in our position. So I appreciated the fact that you were able to shield me from many of those things, and I appreciate all of you who did the same. And I appreciate the fact that that they were able to resolve things at a lower level and actually make some substantive improvements. And then finally, something many don't know is rather than just dealing with the daily basis, he and the housing office staff have also done something probably unmatched in SHAPE's history, and that is we seem to be making significant progress in getting new housing constructed on SHAPE with the cooperation of the host nation. This would not be possible if Lieutenant Colonel Papaioannou and Freddie and others in the housing office did not enjoy the credibility and the reputation and the good working relationships that you have established with the Ministry of Finance and the Regiment de Bâtiment. I get close to that. Many people don't think I speak any French. Didier Palmiette and Chris have in fact taught me to be fluent in French, for instance. And that was my first lesson. I'm waiting for lesson number 2, right? But is French. There we go. So having said all that, Chris, here's what I can guarantee you what will happen in the next couple of minutes. I guarantee nothing, because we all know Lieutenant Colonel Papaioannou. You may see vestiges or indications of typical U.S. Army and military tradition here, but you're very likely to see the typical Papaioannou nuance to things, things that make life so much more enjoyable and so much more fun. I think he required me to be in Class A today's for two reasons. One, he knew I can't stand them. And two, he knew that many of you out there who see me in this immediately question whether you're in the right uniform or not. So it was just his final way of getting to you. And I've had 4 people come up to me from the headquarters to here asking, oh, were we supposed to get all dressed up? No, it's just my punishment today. You didn't believe me, RMO, but yes, in fact, as you can see. So having said that, it's just no way to summarize a man's career of service to the U.S. He's had the unique privilege, as many of us do, of not only having served his nation, but also having served the Alliance. And I'll be gracious and say nearly half his life has been spent in dedication to duty to one or both of those. That's a nice thing. I think you did that just to make us all feel old, Chris. But it was a nice review of his career. The good news is that Chris will not leave us. He may not wear that uniform as much in the future, but we know he's going to be around and he's going to continue to serve the U.S. community, working with our neighbors in Shepherd. So I'm certain that the housing office will see him often still, probably on official and unofficial business. And I know that all of us are intent on keeping our relationship as well. So I will stop there because he told me if I went too long, he'd make me pay, and I fear him, I truly do. And I'll turn that back over to our son. If you need any